Thank you. All right, my name is Susshruth, and I can't see you guys, I have to tell you, because there is so much glaring light on my eyes, so I'm gonna assume there is an audience over there, and I'm gonna look at you. Okay, but I really cannot see you. So first of all, I want to congratulate the organizing team for bringing TEDx, a platform like TEDx, to COEP. Being an organizer multiple times in my life, I know how difficult it is. So you guys really deserve a lot of credit. So good job, good job. Such platforms always help the university, they help the students, they help everyone. So good. Second thing is I am on a red carpet, so I never thought I would, but I'm happy, privileged to be the first speaker. I wish my wife was here. She's traveling, so unfortunately, I'll just share the video with her. Especially, make sure you focus on the red carpet, because that's important to me. Okay. My topic, okay? You got to do what you believe in, not what you should be doing. Really, topic for discussion? I never thought that would be a topic, right? One has to do what he believes in. Why would he do otherwise? But I get invited to speak on this topic multiple times. That just goes to show that there is an opportunity. There's a void. So we'll talk about why this happens. Okay? The gentleman before me, the one who was introducing me, he did talk about, tell me who are the misplaced engineers over here, and I can raise my hand till it stretches out of this room. And I'm not just one engineer, I've done my master's in engineering. Go figure. Okay? So it takes stupidity to learn something smart in life. That's life proof. So that's the topic that I'm going to talk about. Why, in the first place, we do things which we don't believe in. Because we think we are smart, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be at COEP, right? So, but we end up doing that. Because, as they say, common sense is the most uncommon thing in the world. And so we'll talk about the first part. And then the second part, what can we do when we say, follow what you believe in? What does that mean? Most of us, at least at your age, when I was younger, and even today for that matter, many times I don't know what I believe in. So how do you find out what you believe in? Okay, so that thereafter you can follow it. So that's how I'll break my conversation in. All right, I'm going to test it if this works. Yeah, are you doing what you believe in, or are you settling for what you're doing? So because I'm at an engineering college, I have to support all my statements with data facts. Otherwise, people are not going to believe it. So it starts with research shows that individuals, what are the 3 critical junctions in life that a person deals with? Usually it's workplace, right? Other one is college. And the third one is personal life, home, friends. Okay, so this is how typically we perform at each of these locations. Okay, at office, this is how our graph is. So some weeks it's at a high, and some weeks it's at a low. Now, a lot of you guys are young. Most of you haven't even started your professional career. But I can tell you, in my 20-odd years, every time. And you know what? It repeats even now. College, well, a lot of you guys can identify with that. Though you would hope that towards the end, this graph goes up over here when you're in your final year, right? And home, okay? Those of you who are parents like me, we can tell sometimes our kids are performing. They become the best, they become the best kids possible, and sometimes they are at the low. We all go through this, don't we? Yes? No? Yes. Yeah, thank you. Because otherwise, I won't have much to talk about, right? So why does this happen? Okay? Why do our performances vary so significantly? Because the first thing is, we all believe that we are doing our best. Okay? So the results, when we believe we are doing our best, we expect the results have to be the best too. That doesn't happen though. We do our best. There is no second doubt about it. But the results don't necessarily follow that effort curve. Does it happen? It happens to me multiple times. I think I'm the best manager people could ever have. And when it comes to a 360 degree where people give me reviews about me, God, it's like no, this is not what I thought I was, and this is the feedback that I get. So effort-wise, there is never professors, anyone for that matter, okay? We believe we are doing the best efforts, but when the results come in, they're not the best. Students, when you're studying for exams, okay? Or girlfriends, boyfriends, they believe that they're giving the best to the other partner, but the other partner doesn't believe so, okay? Or at home, parents, you think you're studying the hardest, but ask your father or mother and they're going to say, oh, well, you can study even harder or get better grades. Okay, so, and when you start working, that's what bosses will tell you too. So why does that happen? A lot of us, lack of learning, lack of interest, and lack of passion. Okay, despite this, we continue doing the same thing again and again and again. Why? That's the million-dollar question. So this is what your curve looks like. High efforts, low results. No matter where, efforts are high, but the results don't show up like that. So now comes the million-dollar question. So what should I do differently? Because that's what the talk is about. First and foremost, find your passion. Okay? Sounds easy, but most of us do not work on passion. We just lead a monotonous life because the father believes you should be an engineer. The mother believes you should, especially the neighbors have to look up to you or to look up to your parents. So that's why most of us end up becoming an engineer. Oh, wrong statement. I ended up becoming an engineer. Okay? Never really. I mean, many times I ask myself, I'm a mechanical engineer who cannot design for nuts. Cannot. And my machine design professor used to always say, it would be a miracle if you ever clear the machine design exam. And it honestly is a miracle. I don't know how I did it. But here, today, I'm standing in front of you and talking about something being successful. 20 years back, no one would have even thought of asking me to come and talk. I myself wouldn't have ever done that because I was following something which I had no clue or no interest doing. Okay, a lot of you are like that. But then, of course, in our culture, this is what our parents are asking us to do. So out of the respect for our parents, we got to complete it. My parents are doctors. I couldn't become a doctor because I never really liked it. I couldn't even become a clean engineer in their mind. So imagine, I mean, what kind of feeling my father must be going through when I was growing up. Identify your strengths. This is the big one. This is actually the topic for today. Strengths. What does strengths mean? I mean, each one of us has strengths. And the interesting part is, I have different strengths than someone else has. We could be peers, or two professors in the same college. They might be teaching the same course. Could be machine design, my favorite one. And they both would have different strengths, but they're still teaching the same course. Two colleagues who are in the same class doing, say, IT, bachelor, BTech in IT. They would have different strengths. But what happens is, most of us, because we are doing BTech in IT, most of us believe we should work for the same company. And which are the dream companies now? When I was younger, it used to be Infy and TCS. I guess it's changed now. It's Google and Amazon and others. But then one has to go to Google, so everyone goes to Google because it's like a, it's like a bragging right? Nothing to do with passion, nothing to do with strengths. But well, someone got into Google. I got to get into Google so that I can prove I'm smarter than that person. Happens all the time. And plus the second part is, if someone got a salary of 7 lakhs, I got to get it 7.5. Because that just proves that I'm smarter than the other person. So this trend keeps on continuing. It was the trend when 20 years back, or 24 years back, when I graduated my engineering, and it's still the same case. And it has to break somewhere. But it will only break when you try to understand or identify what your strengths are. And trust me, guys, if you think you're going to identify what your strengths are, sorry, if that was the case, in your 21, 22, 23 years of life, you would have already known that, right? Second, if you really believe, and I'm a parent of 2 teenagers, so I can say that with confidence, if you really believe your parents are going to tell you what your strengths are, another bubble which is burst. Because you know what? As a parent, I myself don't know what my strengths are, let alone my child's strengths. Okay? So here, professor, absolutely not. Okay? So you've got to figure it out yourself. No one is going to come in and give it to you on a platter. Okay? You've got to figure it out yourself, find out. Once you identify your strengths, then comes the belief part. Belief comes naturally. Belief is basically playing to your strengths. You know, I'm a humongous fan of TED Talks. Okay? So it's a dream come true for me where I get an opportunity to talk to people. I listen to TED Talks all the time. And one theme which is common amongst all people who talk is most of the people who talk on TED talk from here. No, very rarely people talk from here. Okay? There is a research community and I have a lot of respect for them. But that's not the people who come and talk on TED Talk. And that's not what the audience comes to listen to either. That's a different scenario. They have a lot of respect, but this forum is for connecting from here. That's where the strengths come in. And we refuse to, especially intellectual people like you and me, who are engineers and double engineers, we refuse to connect over here. There is a long distance relationship for us from between this place and this place. And it has to be real-time relation. So strength never comes from here. Okay? Tried it multiple times. I lead big teams, okay, the size of the college, entire college. And I'll tell you one thing. Whenever I use this to identify mine or my people's strengths, I'm lost. I'm lost. There's a word for that, ego. That comes in there. But if you have to identify your strengths, you've got to figure it out. Now, the good news for people, engineers like you guys, is there is a logic or a science to find out your strengths. This is what I did, okay? But I'll go further and I'll talk to you about that. Okay? For example, these are my strengths. Okay? I'll try and keep it to a minimum over here about my strengths because the topic is about understanding your strengths. So a lot of these strengths, they don't mean what they really say. Okay? An activator, for example, is someone who likes to start things very quickly. Okay? Boom, start, no planning. Okay? Now, wow, and I'm running a company. Oh, I mean, there are two people who made a mistake over here, me and my boss, for hiring me. Because before planning, I started. But that's who I am. That's who I am. You started, no wonder I got the slot to come in as the first speaker. And my planning, less said the better. In the morning, I sent the document to these guys. But then the thing is, this is how you got to find out yours. Because ideally, as an engineer and double engineer, my first thing would have been to tell everyone, well, I'm at a responsible position in the organization. I'm a good planner. That doesn't make me a poor planner. But planning is not something which I should focus on, should play on. That's the reason why, in the first place, I wish I had someone like this. I had TED Talks back then when I was a young engineer. Someone should have woken me up and told me, what are you doing in an engineering school? Get out. You still will be successful. Almost all of you guys are going to be successful. It's just that you've got to find your right path. The rest, I can go on and on about these strengths, but this, as an example, is my strength calendar. Here is what I do typically. Whenever I get any new project, or whenever I have any new task to work on, I try to find out, is it connecting with any of my 5 signature strengths? If it is connecting, there is a 100% guarantee, and that sounds a little overzealous, but there is a 100% guarantee that that project will be successful with me. And if that project, or if that task, or if that relationship, or whatever, if it doesn't connect with this, well, the best thing, if I really believe I should be successful, the best thing is I should avoid that task. That's when you say no. That's where you say no. And in our culture, it's arrogant to say no, right? But then someone has to say no. The thing that I'm doing is whatever I'm working on is I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So it doesn't feel like work. So then it just connected back to me when I used to see Howard Schultz work, and he used to take rounds in the corridor all the time. And no matter what time I see him, he's either working or he's at the gym or and he's relaxed, he's calm, he's not stressed out. Because we all feel when someone is working too hard, the person is just stressed out. He doesn't want to lead this life. He had a happy family. In a country where the divorce rate is too high, he still was married to the same lady for a long, long time. So, and he had kids. So what was the magic formula is what I was trying to find out. And somewhere now I'm connecting, because if you are doing what you enjoy doing, or you believe what you should be doing, things work out. Things work out. And if you don't, then that's where things happen where, you think clearing a machine design exam is like a miracle. It was. I still remember, I went to one of the mandirs, और उधर जाके नारियल फोड़ा था मैंने, because I really thought it was a miracle. And then, of course, the focus on getting results. Okay? One of the things I want to tell you, you'll hear it multiple times, intentions are empty, guys. Okay? I have the best intentions always. And there is no doubt you have best intentions. What matters is results. Intentions don't matter. Okay? Don't bring in emotions. Leave it only for Hindi movies. Okay? What you will get rewarded for, what I get rewarded for, what everyone else gets rewarded for is the results. Googles and the Amazons of the world, they pick you up because you've got good results, not because you have good intentions only. Everyone has good intentions. Most of us have. Okay? So try and get that. For a second, I wanted to tell you, try and get that dialogue out of the mind when you fail. I did it for the right reasons. Of course you did it for the right reasons. Reasons or right intentions? No, just results. Focus on results. Okay, so this connects with today's topic. What do they do differently, the leaders that we were talking about? They just believe. They just believe whatever they're doing. Okay? Needless to mention, this is kind of a curve that you see. Okay? So for me, the simple success formula, based on life that I've led so far, is your strengths plus your belief, okay, is equal to guaranteed success. Here is this good one. Most of you have this. Very few of you know this. You know what? When I ask about strengths, very typically during interviews, the first question comes, I'm excellent at design. Really? I'm excellent at maths. Or I'm excellent at any of the topics. Because you really haven't taught anything beyond that. You really don't have to be good at that. You know what? Knowledge is very trainable. That's the reason why Google exists. I can really hire someone, not to undermine. I know I'm standing in front of an audience which is the Knowledge Institute, and I have a lot of respect for knowledge. But knowledge is trainable. It's the attitude which makes a difference. People hire for attitude and they train for knowledge. And you will become successful or not thanks to your attitude. Knowledge, I mean, there is a plethora of database inventory of knowledge lying out there, isn't it? All you can, and anyways, whenever you have to do a new project, do you really believe that you're doing something inventive or innovative and bringing it to the table? No, the first thing you do is go to Google and find out. So that's knowledge base, okay? Focus on attitude. So back to this, focus, bring your strengths, okay? Just to give you a little glimpse of what strengths are, I identified my strengths when I was working at Starbucks as a people manager. The first time I became a people manager, this was in 2004 or 5 I guess. The first thing that they did is they asked you to take a strength finder test. What that does is it identifies your strengths. So you know what you stand for, and you also know what you do not stand for. So once I took it, of course, overnight, it didn't change my perspective. I mean, 2005, 2017, 12 years, the process of the journey is going on. In the last 7, 8 years, I've realized that based on these strengths, I just play to things which work on my strength, okay? The ones which aren't, that's what you call as outsourcing. You just outsource it. You don't throw it off. You find a partner, okay? You big teams. You work on projects in teams, correct? Once you start working, you will be working on teams. So once you know your strengths, move the ones which are not so-called your strengths to someone who is your partner. Ask him, can you do it? Most of the times, you will have a lucky go at it because he would have no idea or she would have no idea what his or her strengths are. So he's going to say, okay, all right, I'll take it, of course. So know what that is. Believe, and then success just is going to bound to happen. Okay, the last slide for me. The do's. Find your strengths. Dare to dream. Okay, your generation does it much better than mine. Okay, discover yourself, which is the strengths again. And be passionate but patient. What you shouldn't do, and this is also equally important, don't live a life for someone else. Stop living a life for your parents. Stop living a life for your neighbors. Because you know what? You're compromising, and you might show a face where you feel you're doing it for someone else, but inside deep here it keeps on hurting. That I'm not doing what I should be doing. Now, if your strengths connect with what your parents are telling you to do, so bingo, then you wouldn't even feel like you're doing a compromise. You will just thoroughly enjoy it. Okay? Never became a doctor, hardly an engineer. Okay? So my father had rarely, and my father is, a successful doctor, runs a practice, or used to run a practice, hospitals. So no reason for him to respect me, right?